In pretty much every job that I've had, I've seen people both get hired and promoted, not necessarily because they were the smartest or the most capable person in the room, but because they were capable of talking to people, leading conversations, and quickly adapting to change. And honestly, I didn't learn any of those skills through college. It was something that I had to learn through my career as well as a few missed opportunities of my own. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about a few of the soft skills that actually matter in your career and how you can start developing them today. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tyler Warlow and I make videos on self-improvement topics I wish someone had taught me when I was younger. All these videos center around how to improve your life through your confidence, capabilities, and overall happiness. One of the best soft skills that you can aim to develop early on in your career is your emotional intelligence. Most people know what you're talking about when you say IQ, but what emotional intelligence is your ability to read emotional situations, empathize with others, and understand various scenarios. It's also important for you personally because it can help you to build self-awareness and manage your emotions through a complex set of different situations. I've been in plenty of difficult situations in my short career so far. And just to name a few, we've had situations where me and my team were forced to work third shift when we didn't necessarily want to. I've also had to work for a pretty unreasonable client. And all of these things are things that can be navigated by having good emotional intelligence. In terms of when my team and I were having to work third shift, even though we didn't want to, we all had to navigate that together. We were all frustrated and experiencing a lot of stress because of the situation. But having an understanding of where we were all at and empathizing with my fellow coworkers rather than only looking out for myself allowed us to work together to get the job done more effectively and quickly. If someone on our team was having a particularly difficult time, like they had something come up with a family member where they couldn't be there, the rest of us worked harder to try and cover for that person, and the expectation was returned if someone else had to go through the same thing. By having this type of emotional intelligence, it's going to help you to build trust with your coworkers, which over the course of your career can make an incredible difference rather than if you're trying to work with someone and you have no trust with them at all. And speaking of trust, that's going to bring us to the second soft skill. You're really going to want to focus on developing your communication. Obviously, there's a few different types such as verbal and written, and then you can get even more specific such as email communication or technical writing. Whatever it is that you do in your own job, you're going to want to make sure that you work to effectively develop and demonstrate this skill in your workplace. Everyone has very different schedules, but pretty much everyone is busy. So you're going to want to be able to communicate your thoughts effectively and in as little time as possible so you're not wasting other people's time. But I personally like to provide a weekly summary of the status of things, where they are, what's been completed, etc., so that way everyone knows and we're on the same page. Communication can also circle back around to your emotional intelligence in terms of how you are communicating one-on-one with other people. It's important that when you're having one-on-one conversations or maybe group meetings that you are actively listening to the individuals who are speaking so that you can understand what it is that you're saying rather than simply waiting to try and speak your turn. This is going to be important because it's going to be able to help you better formulate your own ideas and be able to communicate them to others rather than people just feeling like you're forcing your ideas onto them. Next up is a skill that I had a little bit of trouble with myself when I first graduated college, and that's going to be adaptability. Pretty much anyone will tell you that most workplaces are going to be fairly hectic to a degree. You're rarely going to have a workplace where everything is exactly the same every single day, especially in a professional setting. It's important that you be able to adapt quickly to any change that is thrown your way. I'll give you an example of when I first started work. Since I started my career, I've been on the consulting side of things, which means that we are typically at the whims of a client and what they would like. When I started at my first client in the pharmaceutical industry, it was a very interesting relationship. The asks changed on pretty much a daily basis. And I personally struggled with that a lot because I felt like I couldn't make any significant progress on any of the deliverables that they were asking for because they were constantly shifting them and changing them. I started to develop some frustration and my team members saw that come out in me. And I actually ended up having a conversation with one of my leadership where they had an honest conversation with me where they were like, this is part of the job and you have to learn not to take it personally. Learning to be flexible and adapt to the changes that are thrown your ways are going to help you in a few different ways. First off, it's going to show your resilience in the workplace and that you can't necessarily be thrown off easily. Additionally, once you get even better at it, it will start to really demonstrate your problem-solving skills as you're able to take on problems as they're thrown at you and solve them in real time. A lot of times this comes from learning how to prioritize your tasks and your time and making sure that you utilize that communication that we talked about earlier. The next soft skill that I'm going to talk about is so important that the company that I'm currently with actually hires based on it. It is one of their core values, and that is going to be initiative. Essentially, this just means that you are going to be someone who is proactive in your work and career rather than being reactive. And you might think that that doesn't make that much of a difference, but trust me, it does. People notice a difference in your work when you actively look for ways to try and help them. Additionally, people notice when you are solving problems before you've even been asked to address them. This shows that you are capable in the work that you're doing. And a lot of times the people who show initiative over those who don't are those who end up seeing the promotions in the long term. The next soft skill that you're going to want to develop is going to be your confidence. Of course, this does not mean that you develop arrogance. Confidence and arrogance are two very different things. Confidence is trusting in your own ability to get your job and your work done. This means that you believe in your abilities, but you are open to feedback. Someone who is blindly trusting in their abilities and can't take any sort of feedback is someone who is actually arrogant. And a lot of times these people end up getting themselves into more trouble because they create mistakes that they shouldn't have because they were never open to listening to feedback in the first place. True confidence is going to be reflected in your work and your abilities and your ability to take feedback and implement it. This is going to be important in interviews, meetings, and everyday items because people can tell when you're confident in your abilities. It makes a difference when they feel like they can trust you because of your confidence in your abilities, rather than someone who's either overly confident or underconfident, which might make you feel a little unsure as to how they can execute the job. And finally, a huge soft skill that you should learn to develop over your career is accountability. This means that you take ownership even when things go wrong. This is important because it's going to help you to build trust with your coworkers and build credibility with your leadership. I can't tell you the number of friends I have in this situation where management constantly blames their workers, despite it being management's fault for overcommitting resources and giving unrealistic deadlines to higher-ups. The managers that I have the most respect for are the ones that take accountability for their actions. If they mess up, then they own it. They don't blame their workers. On top of that, they never ask their workers to do the things that they themselves wouldn't be doing. I know this personally has helped me to build some trust with some of my management, and I respect them a lot when they implement this in their leadership style. But that's going to bring us to the end of today's video. When most people think of skills that they need for the job force, they tend to think of technical skills, but the soft skills are just as important. You can start by choosing one of the skills from this and just working to improve it a little bit each week. These are all habits that can work to improve your career over time. One conversation, one decision, or one moment can make the difference in your career. If you found this video to be helpful or informative, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to join me along on this self-improvement journey. If you had any of your own thoughts, ideas, or opinions, let me know with a comment down below. I like to read and respond to all of them. If you're interested in more videos like this one, be sure to check out this video right here where I talk about how to manage your time at work. If you're more interested in my most recent stuff, be sure to check out this video right here. But until the next time, this is Tyler Warlow, signing off.